Welcome, friends, enemies, and everyone in between, to my channel, The Masked Mormon. I am in fact the Masked Mormon.
Why you wearing a mask? Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh no, it's just they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
If you've been here before, I am so glad that you could come back. If this is your first time, I am a Mormon who used to believe in the truth claims of the Mormon Church. Now, I explore some of the implications of Mormon theology and culture and talk about it on the internet with you fine viewers. In another video, I gave a guide on how to use coffee. I described how caffeine affects the body. I described how to consume coffee in a way to minimize the effects of caffeine. Coffee and tea are wonderful things and enhance life. I love the ritual of making coffee, but it is important to understand the substances that we use. Everything from sugar to caffeine to food to alcohol. To really emphasize this, I really like to say that it is important to understand the drugs that we use. By phrasing it that way, it can break us of the cavalier attitude we can have towards everyday substances. For instance, caffeine and sugar are psychoactive substances. They affect our mood and behavior. But because of their everyday familiarity, we can lose our respect for the power of these substances. This can then lead to overindulgence and then long-term problems. For instance, caffeine dependency, or in the case of sugar, diabetes. Many Mormons will demonize certain substances and glibly claim it is to avoid addiction. Yet, they are hopelessly addicted to a powerful substance that can rewire their brains, sugar. But this is not a video about that. This is a video about another powerful substance, one that if we understand it, we can use it in a way that can enhance life. But if we misuse it, it can destroy lives. That substance is, of course, alcohol. Or, in the words of Homer Simpson,
to alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
Caffeine is a substance that has a low bar of consequences. If you overindulge, things will be just fine. But the lessons you learn from respecting caffeine can be used as training wheels of sorts to learn how to respect one of the most powerful substances that is used in our society. Mormonism infantilizes grown adults. It can be easy to go through a second adolescence of sorts as someone steps back from the church. They can start trying substances that they have never tried before, and because they don't know how they work, can end up dealing with some pretty heavy consequences as a result of their inexperience. Hence, this guide. So let's get into it. Alcohol is a naturally occurring byproduct of fermentation by yeast. Yeast are single-celled microorganisms that eat sugars. As they metabolize these sugars, they produce carbon dioxide. If these yeast are in a low oxygen environment, fermentation begins, and the yeast produce ethanol, a type of alcohol, as a waste product. Used in baking, this causes bread dough to rise, giving bread that fluffy consistency that we are all familiar with. Most, but not all of the ethanol will evaporate in the baking process. When applied to fruit, honey, wheat, or other plant material, the fermentation process results in wine, mead, beer, etc. Further processing and distillation results in whiskey, gin, vodka, tequila, etc. It isn't uncommon to see animals in the wild seeking out and eating rotting fruit and becoming inebriated. Humans have been making and drinking alcohol for at least 13,000 years, predating even the invention of agriculture, and even the invention of the wheel. That fact blew my mind. We have all these expressions and idioms about the invention of the wheel, but beer and mead are about 2,000 years older. And it makes sense when you think about it. Fermentation is a natural process. You just need fruit or honey, some water, and expose it to natural yeasts, a little patience, and you have something that can be fun to drink. Learning that fact pricked my pride a little as a scientist, an engineer, and just as a human. If humans have been doing this since forever, I should be able to do it as well. So, with some of the fruit of that tree, I started making my own wine. It is delicious to the taste and very desirable. Personally, I'm not a big fan of beer. Microbreweries seem to be all the rage. But I have tried my hand at making mead. Mead is fermented honey. It's something that the Vikings used to drink. I don't have any labels for it yet. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Making both of these is pretty simple. It just really takes patience. And after a couple of times of making it, you start to refine the process. For all of you preppers out there, there's really no need to hoard guns and other supplies. If you know how to make booze, you can trade for anything. Alcohol is something that will always be in demand. Alcohol as a drug is a depressant. It depresses your central nervous system and impairs your ability to think rationally, react quickly, and speak properly. It can also affect your judgment and decrease your inhibitions. When consumed in excess, it can depress the nervous system to the point of respiratory failure and then death. So, alcohol is something to treat with respect. And let's face it, there is nothing healthy about alcohol. True, you may occasionally hear about a study that touts the benefits of a regular glass of wine, but that is due to the polyphenols in the wine and not the wine itself. You can really get the same benefits from eating grapes. They don't have to be fermented. Also, alcohol is literally a poison. It is a waste product excreted by yeast, but moderate amounts can be metabolized by our livers. But again, let's not kid ourselves. It isn't healthy. As you come out of the church, you shouldn't feel pressured to use alcohol. Just like anything else, you should consider using it very carefully. Some may like it and make it a part of their lives. Some may try it and feel it isn't for them. Others may wish to avoid it altogether for a myriad of reasons, and that is okay. Some reasons a person may wish not to use alcohol are that they don't like the taste or how it makes them feel. There may be a history of alcoholism in their family. They also may not want to deal with any potential health effects. Contrary to what many TBMs may think, people aren't trying to force alcohol on people. Even in places like clubs and bars, many people go there and don't drink at all, and people are fine with it. It's perfectly acceptable to go out with friends who are drinking and not partake yourself. You can say things like, I don't drink, or I have had all that I want, or something like, I am the designated driver, or something just as simple as, no thank you.
I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request.
But let's say that you do want to try it. What do you do? Again, don't feel pressured into having a drink just because everyone else is doing it. Secondly, if you are in the USA, you should be at least 21, as that is the legal drinking age. That said, what is a drink anyway? Beer, wine, and liquor all have different amounts of alcohol, but a standard drink contains 14 grams of pure alcohol. What? Okay. A can of beer is equivalent to a glass of wine, is equivalent to a shot of liquor, vodka, whiskey, tequila, whatever. A 12-ounce can of beer is about 5% alcohol. 5 ounces of wine varies from 12 to 17% alcohol. Mine is about 14%. A distilled liquor is about 40% alcohol, or about 80 proof. Often, the more concentrated liquors are mixed in cocktails, which might be a good way to start. The alcohol taste is masked by syrups and juices. My favorite is a Moscow Mule. It is a cocktail made with vodka, ginger beer, not an alcohol, ice, which I'll forego for now, a little lemon or lime juice, all mixed in a copper cup. Honestly, it's pretty simple to do. You measure alcohol oftentimes with something like this, called a jig. It usually has 2 ends. One end is about half an ounce. The other end is a full ounce. You take your alcohol. You would measure out 1 ounce, maybe an ounce and a half for a full drink, or a little bit more with 2 ounces. Then you take some ginger beer and do about 6 ounces of that. Then a splash of your lime or lemon juice. You mix it with some ice. Shake, shake, shake. I'm not going to make it right now because it's middle of the afternoon and I really don't feel like a drink besides the little sip of wine and a little sip of meat I've had. Even for you, my friends, I'm going to say no for right now. But you shake it, pour it, and enjoy it. Usually when I go out, I like to get a Moscow Mule. There's other forms of it where they can use whiskey or tequila instead. That would be a Kentucky Mule or a Mexican Mule. But there's all kinds of drinks that you can try. But the sweeter cocktails can reduce the perception of alcohol, and the effects can creep up on you pretty fast, especially if you are tempted to drink it quickly. And I know a lot of Mormons might be used to very sweet drinks and be tempted to drink it very quickly, but just slow down. Wine and beer are sometimes more acquired tastes. Beer especially seems to be something people either love or hate. The taste can be quite a turnoff. Likewise, if a wine isn't very sweet, the bitterness can be a bit of a turnoff. A very super important thing to keep in mind is when was the last time you ate. Alcohol enters your bloodstream in your stomach and small intestine. If your stomach is empty, the alcohol will enter your bloodstream more quickly. Having food with your alcohol slows this process down, giving the booze more time to break down. If you drink on an empty stomach, you can get drunk pretty quickly. If possible, have a meal with your alcohol, preferably one that is high in protein. With that in mind, take it slow. Don't feel like you have to drink quickly. Sip on it. If it is your first time, go for things with low amounts of alcohol. Also, space out your drinks. It takes about an hour for your body to metabolize a drink, so don't be in a rush. As much as some people may like to do it, avoid doing shots. It will get you drunk very quickly. A hangover is the hallmark of drinking too much and too fast. Alcohol dehydrates you. So, if you apply a rule of drinking water after each drink, you can avoid this problem entirely. True, you may need to visit the restroom more, but it is much better than the effects of a hangover. I apply these rules myself. Though I enjoy drinking occasionally, I have never been drunk. I like to savor whichever drink I may have, and if I don't like it, I really don't feel the pressure to finish it. Speaking of pressure, learn to say no.
I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request.
Peer pressure can be hard to resist, whether it is overt or just perceived. A few drinks can easily turn into too many drinks. Alcohol is a recreational tool, and moderation is the name of the game. You are in charge of how much you drink, and no is a complete sentence. I was at a party once with a Marine, and he fit the hard drinking stereotype very well. I decided beforehand that though I was going to drink, I was going to limit how much I did. And as the night wore on and he became more intoxicated, he would pressure me to drink more than I wanted. And let me tell you, the pressure was real. He would take a huge swig from a bottle of liquor and try to get me to do the same. But I held firm. He did back off, but let's just say it was a little uncomfortable. In addition to things like peer pressure, you should also keep safety in mind. Though most people go out to have a good time, sometimes people do nefarious things. One of those things could be to slip something into someone's drink without their knowledge, with the purpose of taking advantage of them, or just ruining their night. So never leave your drink unattended, and if you do, cover it, or better yet, ask for a new one. This applies to you whether you are a man or a woman. Most of the stories you hear about may be about women, but plenty of men have also been slipped something in their drinks and end up robbed or worse. Most likely, you're just being a little too cautious, but that is okay. And also, get your own drinks. If someone offers to buy you a drink, accept it from the bartender, or make your own. Most people are okay, but the off chance someone isn't, a little vigilance goes a long way. Like I've already mentioned, stay hydrated. Between every drink, have a glass or bottle of water. And like hydration, it bears repeating. Avoid shots completely. Finally, after a night of drinking, sit and relax for a bit. Don't just go to bed. Keep drinking water and maybe have something to eat. And take in the experiences you just had. Alcohol, like caffeine, can be a tool that can enhance an experience. Alcohol isn't necessary, but if you use it responsibly, it can be an enjoyable experience. Alcohol can be a social lubricant, but because alcohol can impair judgment and reduce inhibitions in excess, it can be thought of as a personality enhancer, which isn't necessarily a good thing. With less self-control, you can do things you would never do otherwise, or you might say things you wouldn't normally say. Things that can harm relationships. If you are goofy without alcohol, it will likely enhance that goofiness. If you are friendly without alcohol, it might enhance that friendliness. If you are an asshole without alcohol, it might enhance that assholishness. There are many problems that can be caused by making poor decisions when alcohol is involved. And one of the worst is, of course, driving while intoxicated. It is illegal for a very good reason. Your spatial awareness, judgment, and reaction times are all decreased when under the influence. When you combine that with operating a 2-ton box of metal hurtling down the road at 100 feet per second, it can cause a lot of pain, a lot of damage, and ruin a lot of people's lives. I have had friends who have been plowed into by drunk drivers. Don't be that person. Also, alcohol should not be used to self-medicate a chronic illness or mental illness. Though it can seem like relief can be had from a bottle, it's only an illusion. The health effects as it destroys your liver, pancreas, and heart are heavy prices to pay, in addition to the damage it causes to your relationships and your ability to be a productive member of society. If you are prone to addiction, there are other things you can do instead of using alcohol. If you are suffering from mental illness, it's probably a good idea to pass when it comes to drinking. Caffeine has a low bar of consequences for any potential overuse. Alcohol has a much higher bar of consequences. You don't have to use it, but if you do, respect it as you would any other potentially dangerous tool or weapon. Learn about it. Be careful with it. I don't think it's any coincidence when a person describes someone who is drunk as that they're loaded. That said, I don't think there is a reason to fear alcohol, but it should be respected. Learning how to use it, or even deciding not to use it, is an exercise in agency. You have regained your power to choose. Use that power, and use it well. Have fun, and be careful. And what are your thoughts? Is there something I left out? What are some of your experiences with alcohol? Any favorite drinks? Did you choose to keep alcohol out of your life? Why? Let me know down in the comments. And if you like what I do here, press that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.